Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon, is now your brand new AEW World's Heavyweight Champion. And he achieved that accolade by defeating Swerve Strickland at All in Wembley Stadium, 55,000 strong, at AEW's biggest pay-per-view of the year, the biggest stage possible. Bryan Danielson and the American Dragon was crowned as AEW World Champion in a match that had a work rate that AEW fans absolutely loved, that AEW fans absolutely relished. They went back and forth. They rarely stopped. Very rarely. And to be honest, it was one of the best matches of the night. It definitely deserved to be the main event of AEW's biggest pay-per-view of the year. And the American Dragon, after what? A little bit over 3 years, finally achieved something that he hadn't been able to. The world title at All Elite Wrestling. And going back to that match, I do wish that they had played a little bit more with some pauses, with the fact that at some moments during the match, Swerve Strickland had Bryan Danielson beat. I wish they would have played more with the fact that even the people in the stadium and everybody watching around the world, they knew that if the American Dragon lost, he would have to retire. And I wish they would have played more with the fact. I wish they would have had Bryan Danielson more on the mat, trying to get back up, using the last ounce, the last drop of his gas tank to get back up and pull through and finally beat Swerve Strickland, not only for the world title, but for the sake of his career, for the sake of his family watching ringside. I hope they would have played more with that fact. They didn't. But overall, I think this match helped both Swerve Strickland and Bryan Danielson in the long run. Now, would I have preferred that Swerve retain his championship on such a big stage, the main event of AEW's biggest pay-per-view? Absolutely. I think there was a lot more we could do with Swerve's title reign. Mainly, having MJF and Swerve meet for the world title sometime down the line. I think that's a money match. I think that's a money feud. I think that's something people, fans, not just only AEW fans, but wrestling fans overall would want to see, would enjoy to see. MJF Swerve Strickland for the World's Heavyweight Championship. And unfortunately, we're not going to get that. We're not going to get that anytime soon, because the American Dragon is now your world champion. And like I've said in the past, the only wrestler I see today on AEW's roster that Bryan can actually drop that title to is the Billy Goat himself, the brand new international champion, Will Ospreay, bruv. I think that's essentially what AEW is building towards for next year. And for right now, Swerve, I think, needs to take a break. I think he does not need to make any appearance for practically the rest of the year. I know that's kind of ludicrous to say, especially All Out coming up in Chicago, especially with Wrestle Dream, I believe is also happening, World's End, Full Gear. There's a lot of pay-per-views that AEW can still put on for the rest of the year, but I've said this time and time again, AEW's roster is so bloated that Swerve Strickland can take a break. They can insert somebody else in there, no problem. Ricochet just made his debut for AEW. There's a ton of other superstars that are being underutilized. Ricky Starks, hopefully, I don't think that's going to happen, but overall, I think Swerve Strickland needs to take a break, and when he does return sometime in the very near future, he's going to blow the roof off the place, and business is going to go up for AEW. But right now, if Swerve remains on TV, like if nothing happened, and goes after the American Dragon and loses once again because they're not going to do this flip-flopping of the title, I think that overall in the long run hurts Swerve Strickland. Now, tonight on Dynamite, Bryan Danielson is going to speak. Bryan Danielson, the AEW World Champion, is going to address the crowd. Kind of bittersweet. That's something I wish they would have done with Swerve Strickland once he won the world title, but, AEW's booking always had an issue with that. A lot of people are speculating that Bryan might retire as world champion, which wouldn't be far-fetched. They did that with Sting. Tony Khan loves to cater, loves to pander to his wrestling legends. He loves to be the fan instead of the actual boss. He's proved that with CM Punk. He's proved that with Sting. He's proved that with so many people, with Adam Copeland as well. I don't think that's the right way to go. But as for my speculation for tonight, I really hope, I'm not saying that this is going to happen. I really hope Bryan Danielson goes out there, world champion on his shoulder, and tells the crowd, I told you I had 1 year left in the tank. 1 year left as a wrestling performer. And I am a man of my word. The next time I lose, not just any singles match, any match that I am taking place in as a singles superstar in singles competition, this world title is on the line. And if I lose, I retire. I think that's Bryan Danielson raising the stakes for himself, for AEW Weekly Television, for the world title. And that puts a giant target on Bryan's back for the entire AEW roster, because now you're not only getting the chance to beat Bryan Danielson and become world champion, but if you do so, if you're able to achieve that, you retire one of the most prolific professional wrestlers of all time. That's my proposition for Bryan's address to the crowd tonight on Wednesday Night Dynamite. We'll just have to wait and see. But what are your thoughts on the main event of All In? Did you think they've made the right choice by having Bryan Danielson become AEW World Champion? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions in the comments section below. I'm Alexis Carrillo. This has been Wrestling Talk, and I'll see you next time.